Hello and welcome to the cheap seats on 1WSR. This is our third episode, and we're going in thick and fast. If you thought that you just heard us a couple of days ago, that's true. Now you're going to hear us again because we've got football every day of the week, except for Sunday, but that's another story. We've got Europa League on Monday and Tuesday. Those are the quarterfinals, and you've got Champions League quarterfinals on Wednesday up until a Saturday, and that's why we're here. We're going to be previewing all of that. Just one other thing before I introduce the rest of the team is that thank you very much for your support. 100 views on the videos has been incredible. Please do share widely, subscribe to the One World Sports Radio YouTube channel where we'll be on, and also like the videos, and we'll also have a podcast out as well along with the video. So if you want to run and listen to us, that's another way to listen to us, and that will be on the One World Sports Radio podcast on SoundCloud and on Apple Podcasts. This week it's European football. I've got Cyrus Rogers as well as AB Müller, who is showing the support of his team that's playing today in the Europa League. We'll ask him a lot about that, but for now, gents, let's recap what happened this past weekend with the round of 16. We saw these games as they were coming through, and the Champions League round of 16. What did you guys take out of those games?
It was incredible. So much football action. As a Chelsea supporter, I mean, I knew it was going to be tough, and it was as tough as expected. But having said all of that, it was a great way for Lampard and the troops to end the season, because you saw how much work they needed to put in. And I think that's something that's really critical for a building team. But then how many of these other teams who have managed to do well in their respective leagues just couldn't translate that into, this continued Champions League? So you look at Juventus, I'm looking at you, Ronaldo, and then also Real Madrid.
AB, as a Ronaldo fan, what did you make of that game? The only thing that I took out of that game was refereeing was very bad, and the use of VAR was worse.
I mean, clearly VAR was working from home there, because I don't think Leon deserved that penalty. I think when you take ball and then hit it into the player and then the player goes down, I don't think that's a penalty. But anyway, look, Juve did as much as they could. I think Ronaldo did as much as they could, or he could. He was fantastic with that second goal. Lopez was brilliant in goal, saving that free kick when he saw it late. It went through the heads in the wall, and he saved it from behind him. So that was a big turning point.
Early on in like the 24th minute or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, he did his best to save the second goal, but it was just too powerful for him. And then I think Ronaldo would be looking back with a little bit of regret. He had that open header in the second half to make it 3-1, and he just hit it wide. But yeah, I feel bad for Sarri for getting fired, but that's football these days. Teams like Juve and teams like Bayern, winning their respective leagues isn't enough anymore. They need to be top 4 in Europe. And interesting to see Pirlo coming in. Clearly the most stylish man in football. I think David Beckham's a close second, but Pirlo's got the hair, he's got the suit.
Hector Bellerin might actually.
Yes, Hector Bellerin's going to be coming to you. So in that FA Cup final, Hector Bellerin picked up the suits that the Arsenal players were going to wear going into the stadium. There are no crowds, but he managed to pick out the suits, and they weren't too bad. So yeah, I think we're all excited about Pirlo coming in. There are 2 managers in this in the Champions League right now who are in trouble. And one of them was Sarri, and the other one was Kike Setien. And on another note, he managed to pull out a win, thankful to another star of his, Lionel Messi. That game against Napoli had many chances, but they just couldn't put it away.
Yeah, it's one of those tough games, because when you look at it, and this is also the thing about Barcelona, is that they play at such a high level that when you have an off day or you don't take your chances, you're going to get punished. It's a bit like in cricket terms. If you dropped any of the Australian batsmen in any format of the game, chances are you'll get punished, right? So you see the same thing happening in football. And I think this is also where you've got the various mindsets at play here, because Italian teams in the past, they needed one chance. You needed like a Pippo Inzaghi. You'll be at the back post to just bundle in a goal, and that was it. You could shut up shop. Against a team like Barcelona, you have to take your chances. If you're not doing that, you're basically just asking to get smacked in the face, and that's what happens when you've got a Lionel Messi on the other end of the pitch. I do think, though, that Barca did look a little poor by their standards. But then it's also to be expected. The only team that really looked sharp was Bayern, who they look as if they haven't skipped a beat. They're unbelievable. Everything they did in that match was just incredible. So when you look at Barca, you can see that the struggles they've been facing, it might just come to haunt them in the next round, because they've got a really tough quarterfinal.
Yes, they do. And interesting enough, we're talking about Bayern Munich. They have not lost a game since the restart of play in Germany. They have not even drawn a game. They've won every single game they've played in the post-COVID, in this post-COVID world. I don't know, COVID.
That resumption.
That resumption period. I think that game was it was one-way traffic. I just felt that Chelsea, it exposed a lot of the areas, as you said, Cyrus, of where they need to work up on. I think the one bright light for me was Callum Hudson-Odoi. I love the fact that he did start out on the left, but he always found a way to be behind the two Bayern defensive midfielders, and he scored the goal that was disallowed from the spot. So I think, it was a sign that, he's back, he's fit, and maybe, the bench depth could be something that you could add on, especially with the exit of Willian coming up.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing at Chelsea, and I think there's there's a whole bunch of optimism around the club at the moment. Yeah, there'll be those who'll be upset about, ending the season empty-handed as such, no trophies to show for a lot of the hard work, but the Champions League qualification was primarily the big deal. When you look at some of the exits, and these were expected, I expected Willian and Pedro to leave, mainly because of Willian's demands. I mean, Arsenal, thank you for being the Chelsea old age home. It's been an unbelievable experience to get some incredible contracts off our books, and then to also, move on players. But when you look at the young talent that can actually fill that gap, and I think this is where Chelsea have done some very, very shrewd recruiting. You already knew that Hakim Ziyech was coming, and he's one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe at the moment, bar none. I think he's in that sort of really upper echelon of really, really skillful players. You've got a young player in Hudson-Odoi who's still learning his game, but has so much upside attached to that. And then Christian Pulisic. So I'm even leaving out Timo Werner, who can play on the flank and will also probably play as a striker. So when you look at the attacking options as they sit already, and there's still sort of the rumors around Kai Havertz potentially coming in, you start thinking, okay, going forward, this Chelsea team is going to be an absolute nightmare. But then, much like Kevin Keegan found out with Newcastle, attacking is great, defending is even better. So, and I feel the biggest problem is not even just the defenders, but the defensive shape. And I think they have to. I've been harping on about this within the different Chelsea groups, that I feel what they need is a proper defensive coach. Somebody who says to Frank, listen, attack-wise, you've got a really great thing going, but what you haven't set us up for is how to handle being under pressure defensively. The structures are poor. They don't necessarily know what to do once they've lost the ball. Not enough players are coming back. They may be committing too many players into attack when they do go forward. And then also looking at it in terms of positioning. When you look at somebody like Kurt Zuma, and this was evident in the Bayern game, he tends to drift. And so he starts to cover like the striker closer to the near post, as opposed to trying to keep his position more centrally, and also make sure that his defensive partner is following, so that they're maintaining some sort of shape. That's where the need for a defensive leader comes in. I think that's where also the goalkeeper needs to be important to communicate, to say, don't worry about him, or watch out for the guy behind you, or even to move the guys around. It becomes a nightmare scenario where nobody knows what's happening, nobody trusts anybody, and then you're trying to cover every single blade of grass that you can't. So yeah, fun times at Chelsea, but even better times at Bayern. They've just added Leroy Sané. I mean, how do you make it even better?
Yes, that's the scary part about, I think, the teams coming up in the quarterfinals, and we'll talk about that, how scary Bayern look. And even with the ease with which they were playing their game, It felt as though at times, Chelsea were there, but it felt like it was a practice game, and
where do they find the space? I just cannot understand. Like, people become somebody's shadow, then all of a sudden they're on their own, and then you're like, I just don't understand it. You could see
Yeah,
it. The players couldn't make heads or tails of where the heck the Bayern players were.
No, yeah, Hansi Flick has set this team up. Remember, Hansi Flick came in early on in the season because Niko Kovac wasn't doing a great job. AB, your noisy neighbors made Real Madrid not so pretty in pink. They just
Cheaters.
had him with a high press, and it was Varane's worst nightmare.
Wow. I mean, Rafa Varane before this game would probably top 5 centre backs in the world. I mean, you've got you know who at number 1. You've got the Italian.
Voldemort.
There's a V in there. There's a V. So yeah, Virgil van Dijk is up there. You've got Rafael Varane, arguably, still a top defender. You've got Chiellini, De Ligt, although he's been quiet. But Rafael Varane, I don't know what he was thinking. He forgot to play basics, and just played straight into City's hands. When you've got guys who are skillful and quick, like Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling pressing you non-stop, that's how mistakes are made. And it shows that even the world's best players do make mistakes, but they were just so lethal and clinical, City. It was impressive.
So the thing about it was that I think Zidane watched that Arsenal match where Arsenal played the back, and they managed to break City down and have all 10 players pass the ball and score. And I thought that they were trying to do that to try drag City in. But the problem is with the back, if you're not comfortable with the ball at your feet, it becomes a lot harder, which is why guys like David Luiz are so important when you play that type of a system, because they are comfortable with and they can get themselves out of jail essentially. And that took a while, as like Mustafi at Arsenal, to get used to it, and it's horrible to watch as a supporter, but it's a way to break them down because of that high press. That's how you also break down Liverpool. You try drag once you get behind them. It's just that he had his positioning. It kind of felt as though he was out of position with Ramos not being there, because I think Ramos is the one right-sided defender when he's playing, and he's always on the left. But now when Militao came in, he had to move to. It felt he looked uncomfortable in that spot, and it shows about the value of having a Sergio Ramos there. But also, I love the fact that they went for it. I think Madrid, on the other hand, Rodrigo was really good. City's defense needs some work. I think they will struggle if they get into the semifinals and the final, because at the back it's Laporte, essentially the man who you can trust. I think Mendy's coming back. He was suspended. I think it might show them up. But I with that Benzema goal, and the chances they had, that Hazard and Modric were just, they weren't there. They needed to support Benzema a little bit more to help Zidane not get knocked out. Zidane's won Champions Leagues in a row, his first 3 in a row. And this is his first time he's actually been eliminated.
And I think Real Madrid have some problems, especially with this whole Gareth Bale situation. I mean, you're paying this dude to sit around on the bench, or not even on the bench, and just go and play golf wherever he chooses to. I feel like that needs to be resolved in the next few weeks, or because you can't carry him for another season. It's ridiculous.
This is their problem, though, because in essence, Real created this drama, right?
No, they did.
No, they've treated him poorly, and then I don't think any of these golf stories have come from outside of the club. I think all of that has been internal. They've leaked stuff to the press. They've tried to tarnish his image, and he said, "Okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to mess with Özil. I'll sit here. You're still paying me. So whether you talk, nonsense about me or not, I'm still going to be here. I've won the Champions League for you guys. I've won different competitions with you guys, and I'm generally friendly with anybody. So if you want to do this stuff, go for it. I'll leave when I feel like it." Just to go back to the game, and there was a point that you raised about ball playing centre backs, and this is something that Chelsea have been using for a while. Sorry, the Chelsea bias coming in here, but they've got so many ball-playing centre-backs, but not enough defensive-minded players. And so you can get into a situation where these guys are very comfortable with the ball at their feet, but they find themselves out of position. I don't think Varane's bad with the ball at his feet, but I do think that the problem that he faces is that they don't have that kind of pressing and spaying. So this is really an ideological issue in the sense that...
Well, since Pep left.
Well, in essence. But then if you only have to face that once a season, it's not going to prepare you for when it's coming at you all the time. So I think that's one of the things where Madrid got caught out, because they should have been trying to practice what happens on the high press. You know that Jesus and Sterling are going to come at you consistently. Get the ball out of there. I still don't understand the obsession with trying to play from the back. Safety first. Safety first. When you get caught out like that, it's not just embarrassing. You look amateurish. And Varane is not an amateur. This is a World Cup winner.
And if you look at where Varane was caught in that first, with that first goal, he was behind. He was 5 meters away from his goal on the byline. You can't be that deep as a centre back. You actually need to try and play from the 6-yard box forward. You know, probably on the penalty spot to try and push everybody forward. You can't be standing that deep because you've got a natural defender behind you which is the line, and that just really as a defender.
Who is this cover?
So
you have to have a midfielder who supports. You know, who was there?
Yes,
that first goal was a team tactic mess up, but that second goal was completely on Varane. You know, as a centre back, you've got a ball bouncing. You're not sure where it is. You've got a striker, you know, waiting to pray. All you have to do is head it out. He's done it a million times before, and that was a poor choice.
No, but City played incredibly well. I think for me, De Bruyne held all the strings in that game. He was the puppet master, and he should be Premier League Player of the Year. I think he showed that yesterday. That if you all had any doubts, that he played incredibly well. So that was the 4 games that we had. Now we've got quarterfinals, which are happening on Wednesday and Saturday. And here they are. You've got Atalanta versus PSG, Leipzig, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City versus Lyon. Gents, let's start with the first one. Does Atalanta have a serious chance against PSG? It's their debut season. They've made it to the quarterfinals. Do they have a chance?
Yes, I think they definitely have a chance.
I agree with AB.
So let's think of when last did PSG play football? It was probably March, April.
So they've been playing.
They played the cup competitions in France, and they've won Coupe de la Ligue. But it's not as if they've had weekly action. So
they've been playing friendlies. They've been playing friendlies against Celtic. They've played against Celtic are also playing in Europe. They've got the qualifier now, and they also started. They've also played Etienne, and I think this past week they played another team. I know they played Lyon, but I think they also played. I think it was Stade Rennes or something.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the competitive nature of the game, and I think that's where the teams that played this weekend have a little bit of an edge. Atalanta, on the other case, I think because they've just finished the Italian season a week and a half ago, they're a lot fresher. Joseph Ilicic could miss the game. There's some injury concerns there. He's their top goal scorer. He scored 5 goals in the he scored 4 in that second leg against Valencia, where they won 8-4. They have a chance, but you can't walk away from the big names that PSG have. Mbappe somehow found his way onto the training pitch yesterday, and everyone's not sure whether he will play or not. I hope it's not another Dybala situation. But I think Atalanta have the biggest chance of making it into the Champions League semi-final as a debutant. It will be a historical moment in Champions League history, and largely because of form. I think we don't know, nobody knows what PSG side's going to come out because of the fact that such depth and everyone's fit. apart from obviously Mbappe and the coach. He broke his foot over the weekend, so he's going to be down most of the time. Thomas Tuchel.
That's a ridiculous. But anyway, it's one of those. Somebody better not slide tackle the coach next time. I think that Atalanta have got they've got nothing to lose. That's also why I felt Leon weren't wholly out of their game against Juve before the tie started, because they'd done enough up front. And in these kinds of situations, you're just not 100% sure who you'll find when you get there. Atalanta play a great brand of football. PSG haven't necessarily faced opponents like this for some time. So it will be a very, very tough ask for them. I do think, though, that the Italians should potentially have. There's something that's telling me Atalanta might just shock them. But having said that, Paris Saint-Germain have spent so much money on assembling this team and have such incredible attacking talent that they should win this game.
Yeah, and you can't run away from Neymar, can you, AB?
No.
Well, I mean, United have done it before. If you look back at last year's round of 16, not last year's round of 16. Last year's round of 16, where PSG should have, secured that win, but we saw what the value of an early goal in a Champions League knockout stage game can do. And Atalanta, they've got attacking talent. Luis Muriel is a beast. Zapata is also a bit of a beast.
Yeah, both have scored 19 goals.
Cheapers, yeah, exactly. So, there are goals to be had for Atalanta, and they're fresher. They had a fantastic Serie A campaign, beating the likes of Lazio, Roma.
I think we've lost AB there. But Cyrus, with Di Maria injured and Marco Verratti, we mustn't forget that that it's a one-off game. It's a knockout.
This is what I was going to say, is that the stakes are so high because you cannot make a mistake. This isn't one of those where, AB is back.
Yeah.
Much like but the thing for me is that you can't make any mistakes in a sort of one-off game. And you don't have the safety net of saying, well, we've always got the second leg at Anfield. See what I did there. But the reality is that you have to give your best in a game like this. It is a cup final, and for all of these teams, it will be cup finals all the way through to the actual cup final. So I don't see why Atalanta would not fancy their chances. But if you get the very best out of Neymar in a game like this, and if by some miracle Mbappe manages to be not just able to play but pretty fit, it's going to be tough for Atalanta. But I think that the Italians have showed the world that they're not scared. They've got the players who can go out there. Their system works, and they'll give it a go.
And this is the format that they'll be looking to play against. I think the two-legged ties is very tough, as you said, Cyrus. RB Leipzig without Timo Werner. Cyrus, you took him versus Atletico Madrid.
Shame.
What can we expect out of that game?
Shame.
Okay, so yes, Timo Werner is not there, but remember now, and this is something we should have actually mentioned beforehand, is that the coronavirus is rearing its ugly head. And there are two members of the Atletico Madrid, let's say, team, because they haven't disclosed whether or not it's playing staff or coaching staff, who've tested positive. So there's still potentially tricky situations like that, where some people might be unavailable to play because they failed like some sort of a corona test, or they're not quite 100% fit. And so that could play into the hands of somebody like RB Leipzig. But the problem with Leipzig is when you lose a player of the importance of Timo Werner, where do you turn?
Marcel Sabitzer, the midfield genius. I like him. I really do. But there's nobody else. You've got Henry, you've got Poulsen up front, the Danish striker. Isn't much, but on Atletico's side, and this is something for RB Leipzig, they haven't had the best of seasons. Yes, that game against Liverpool shows us how dangerous they can be, especially in like a one-off tie.
Yeah.
But the other situation obviously is, can they didn't finish La Liga off really well. Can they find a way to take on Leipzig? Leipzig have had 3 weeks to recoup, to rest, to see their families and get back into this Lisbon bubble that they're trying to create, which is going to be tough because if you have coronavirus, you've got coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I honestly think at the back they sorted. I think with RB Leipzig, I think RB Leipzig defense was the second best in the Bundesliga after Bayern. They played really, really well. But the talisman was Timo Werner. He stretched the game. He pushed the game and enabled guys like Poulsen to come in and score goals, enabled the midfielders like Marcel Sabitzer to come through from midfield. It's going to be different for them, and I think that's where it might go down. You know, games like these you need star power, but if you look at the other side, Atletico might have a little bit more of the stars.
Yep.
You know, with Alvaro, you know him well, Cyrus. I think we all know.
Is Morata a star?
Yeah,
he is. He's
him. Diego Costa, the absolute animal.
Diego Costa. Oh.
Yeah, and then João Felix. You know, when you look at that Atletico team, they've got some incredible attacking talent. I think what Diego Simeone has done has built really, you know, they're so tough to beat mentally. These guys are like, this is a dog with a serious bite, not just bark. And so they work really hard as a team. It's just a question of how they manage to get going, because I think the problem with Atletico sometimes is that as they don't have, for me personally, enough creativity in midfield. I think that they play very hard and they just get the ball to the strikers and they expect them to do stuff. So the forwards have a lot of work to do on their own, but they've got a solid base behind them. So I think that's where Leipzig might have an issue, because breaking down a team like Atletico doesn't happen easily. You have to work really, really hard to get behind them, and then also to get through their defense and their goalie, who's a brick wall. So it's going to be a tough one. But having said that, this is football. Anything can happen, and especially if we've now seen 2 positive coronavirus tests in that camp, what is the mentality of all the players? Are they feeling comfortable? You know, how do you train when you start worrying about that kind of thing? And how does Simeone put them, get them into the right headspace to say, look, you got to play this game. It's going to be good. You'll be fine. Don't worry. Because if they start losing players like Costa, Morata, Felix, and they're unable to play, then you know you're going to be wishing for set pieces, and hopefully somebody nods it in.
Yeah, you don't.
Although, I mean, you've got the talent there. You know, you've got Diego Costa, who in my mind is unbelievable. He's just you know, he could cut it in any team wherever he wants to, and he's just so important for them. You've got João Felix, who's, you know, kind of like a free roamer, just does his own thing. I do agree with you, Cyrus. Their midfield is a bit more contain rather than penetrate. But yeah, I think I see Atletico, you know, at least getting a 1-goal win out of this. It doesn't need to be sexy. It can be dirty, but that's the way Simeone likes it.
They're not sexy guys. They're like, look, you know, we do what needs to be done.
Yeah, that's what they are. The hustlers of Europe. Next match is the Bayern Barcelona game. I think tie of the round. Hansi Flick, the Bayern coach, when asked about Messi, he says, "We're not going to focus on Messi because we want to be. We are aware of every player. We want to be aware of every player." Is that truth? Should he be aware of everyone else but Messi, or should he just focus on Messi?
I know AB will agree with me here. It's one of those situations where you don't want to be saying, "Look, that Messi guy," and then everybody else gets their backs up. Because remember, this is a Barca team that has attacking talent throughout, and you know, Suarez somehow has managed to evade everybody's minds when it comes to talking about how deadly the Barca's attack is. I mean, Griezmann, you never know who's going to pitch up there. He could do something. It's highly unlikely, but he could still. But I think the thing is, it's Barca's defense and midfield that have been their major Achilles heel. That's what cost them in La Liga. It's going to cost them again at the tie. I honestly see Bayern Munich potentially shocking pretty much all of Europe and demolishing this Barcelona team. If there's one thing that I saw up front in the Chelsea games with Bayern is that their attacking players find space so easily. It's also very difficult to contain them because you've got Serge Gnabry on the one side and oh God, is it Alphonso Davies on the other? The pace, the absolute pace of these guys it's enough to cause nightmares. And then Thiago just pulling the strings, finding the passes when necessary, and then they hound you throughout the entire game. So much like how Real found against City with the press, Barca are going to be facing a very, very similar challenge. And whether or not they're able to come out of that is going to be interesting. And I think that you have to have a large amount of team cohesion where the coach, Barca coach Setien, he doesn't have that. He's always relied on Messi to do some moments of magic. And as Liverpool showed the world, you can contain Barcelona. You can actually make it very difficult for the likes of Messi to shine, and then you can go out and do your own thing. I think Barca will be very keen to try and avoid that level of scrutiny on their defensive side. But I don't see how they managed to contain this Bayern team. They've just got great players everywhere.
Look, I think Busquets coming back is a massive plus for them. I think he provides that comfort there. I just look at Bayern Munich everywhere on the field. If you do like an audit of who's got the better players going down and form wise, Bayern are just incredible.
Weirdly, don't you think Neuer might be Bayern's big Achilles heel? That if anything, of all the players they have, I'm not sure I have complete faith in their goalie.
So here's the other thing that I've always wanted to see how Bayern play under pressure against the bigger European sides with Alphonso Davies at left back, and also the exposing of David Alaba and Jerome Boateng. I'm not a fan of that centre back pairing. I think that's where Bayern need to strengthen in the transfer market. David Alaba is incredible, and his versatility is what gets him there. I just feel as though you find yourself sometimes with Bayern Munich conceding random goals because centre backs aren't clicking or there's a mistake. For Barcelona, there'll always be a mistake there, ready for them to pounce on. I just want a team to make Alphonso Davies defend. He's their left back. He in a 4. It's not a 3. They can turn it into a 3 with Goretzka or Thiago sitting as a third centre back and splitting it out. But that for me is a game they're quick, and that's what they're reliant on. But Barcelona can control the pace. We've seen how they've played Sergio Roberto. You can play Busquets. You can even play Rakitic, who slow the ball down, pass the ball around, hold on to possession, because without the ball, Bayern can't do much. They can hound you and they can defend very well and they can press on you. But this Barcelona team can cause problems. Obviously, we're looking at Bayern's force with Lewa and Lewandowski and Gnabry and Florentin Tolisso, who came back from an injury when the resumption started and has played really well. They're very good. We can't deny that. But on the other hand, you cannot say no to Messi, and you cannot, or even Suarez. You can't put them away. You can't say no. We're not going to be worried about them because they can turn a game on a dime. AB?
Yeah. So I'm a bit concerned about Neuer, as Cyrus said. I thought he had a shocking game against the Blues. Sure. And then if it was David De Gea making those mistakes, it'll be all over Twitter. But, no one pulls a tweet or
Bayern
Munich on newspapers.
In English.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Bayern will just have too much going for them. They've got that confidence. And in my opinion, I think they need to stop Messi before he enters the box. I was very critical of Napoli, where they just gave Messi too much space outside the box, and then once he's in, you can't really throw challenges in. So I want Bayern to be against him, foul him, just persistently foul him, make him feel the pain that he should be feeling, in a Premier League sort of environment.
Wow.
Because if you stop Messi when he gets the ball, you stop Barcelona. But if you allow him to do his little tricks and him to fall down in the box and then get up and then give him time to shoot, he's going to curl it into the corner. And that's what we saw midweek. But stop Messi early. So put a guy like Hernandez there or Davies there, and see how tough Messi is. That's my opinion on this.
Messi has been getting kicked from when he was 15, 16.
Yeah,
so he's used to getting kicked. I think the thing here is that it's about matching him for pace. And this is why if you have him against Davies generally will do quite well. Because even if he manages to mess up, he's got the pace. Just remember something. We forget that some of the best left backs in the world have been poor defenders. So somebody like Roberto Carlos was not known for his defensive acumen, but his pace allowed him to bail himself out of situations. And I think that's the kind of thing that Bayern will be hoping happens with Davies. I think the other thing is Jerome Boateng is really going to be a problem. He had an issue in the Chelsea game. He sort of pulled up with some sort of thing, but managed to play through it. So whatever happens with Boateng might be a problem when you're playing against Barcelona. But please, they've got guys like Kimmich who he'll just slot as a central defender, and suddenly you're like, wow, how did they have the world's best centre back playing in midfield? Bayern reminds me a bit of like the old Ajax teams, where that Ajax system of versatility, having guys be able to play in numerous positions, because it allows you to then provide cover where needed. So when Davies is going up and you've got the likes of Goretzka dropping deeper, it's not that surprising, because you're like, well, he defends well, I think that's why I think Bayern could be a really big shock for Barca, in the sense that it has been a while since Barca had to defend a team who played quite good attacking football. They haven't faced a striker like Lewandowski in a while, and he's just superb. Oh my word, he's just superb.
I mean, that's a Ballon d'Or winner right there. If there was a Ballon d'Or, but sure.
So on to the last one. That is Manchester City versus Lyon. Manchester City's best chance of winning the Champions League. They were probably, I think they were expecting to play Juventus, but Raul Garcia's Lyon pulled through. I don't know. I think, Jess, for me, yes, City are the favorites, but the way Lyon play, being tight, being compact, that's important, and I think they could spring a surprise. However, after 65 minutes in that Juventus game, the Lyon players were just really struggling. They were hoping, they were waiting for the game to end. Essentially, there isn't. It's a young team. It's an exciting team. They're probably going to be on the market after the European season is over, and a lot of their players might leave. But it's a moment in the spotlight and the sunshine for them. Depay's has scored in every Champions League game he's played this season. What do you guys see? Where do you guys see this ending?
So, if I was, Lyon, I'd set up to counter. I'd do my best to just withstand the City pressure, because no matter how you play, or no matter, City are going to come in, hog possession, press you the whole game, and they're really weak on the counter. That's City's weakness currently. They don't really have a centre-back pairing with Fernandinho in there. Sometimes it's Laporte, and they're not necessarily the fastest of guys. And City this season have been really weak on the counter. United beat them twice because of it. And Lyon do have that front three of Depay, Moussa Dembele, if he does start, which I think he should start, gives them something a little bit different. So Depay can play on the left. You've got Traore there, and then Uwa just behind. So that front three, front four, or if Cornet starts, Cornet's proper quick. Should probably be the guys to look for a breakaway goal. But at the same time, I think Lopez is going to be really busy. I don't see winning this, but I would like for them to to push up and just be smart about it. You can't go and attack City. It doesn't work. They will counterattack you. They will beat you that way. So you're going to have to withstand pressure. It's going to be a tough game if they will try to win it. But yeah, I don't see it happening.
Cyrus, is there anything on here?
I agree with ABN, and I think if there's one thing that I've sort of preached for the majority of the season from a City perspective is that this has to be their Champions League year. They don't necessarily have to win it, but they have to get to the final. They've invested way too much money to try and win it without getting. So maybe I'm putting the Chelsea bias back in here, but when you look at it from an investment perspective, right? Certain clubs expect you to get to the semis and the finals regularly, something Chelsea did. City have woefully underperformed for the amount of money that they've spent and the players that they have on their side. Now they've got a chance to really go out there, show the world what they're made of, and be as irritating as Hardy does, because when you look at the players that they have on the attacking front, right? You've got Sterling, who for me is their real talisman. He's going, if he performs well, City play well. But outside of that, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who is going to be an impossible player to stop sometimes. And then you don't know who they might match up with him. So it could be Gundogan, you could have Phil Foden, you could have David Silva in there, you could have Bernardo Silva in there. All of these guys are really good in the attacking front. And I think that City will fancy their chances. The only real miss for them is Sergio Aguero. And, they've managed to do well without him. And I think this is also where Pep's tried to use that false nine system so that in case something happens to Aguero, you have to have some other guys try and pop in with goals. I think this is City's game to lose, considering that I think this would be seen as quarterfinal 4, and they'd know that they would win they'd face the winners of quarterfinal 2, which would be either Leipzig or Atletico Madrid. If they can't make the Champions League semis now, I mean, because didn't they lose to Spurs in the semis last year?
No, it was, I think so, yeah. That was that VAR game that they played.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was
a scored and it was VAR. Yeah, so here are the semifinals for these games.
Okay, so Barca.
Yeah, so City and Lyon they've got, City's got a tough route, but it's not unbeatable. You could say they are the 3 best. Well, they are one of the top 3 best teams in Europe. I just honestly think that this is their chance, and a UEFA semi-final, Champions League semi-final is not a bad. It's not a bad. I know they want to win it, but it's not a bad conclusion for City. Even though they've got probably the best tactical coach left in the
court. Come on, Paul.
Also, if you think City, if they win, if City win Lyon, Pep knows how to beat Bayern. Pep knows how to beat Barca. He's managed both. He knows those players really well. So it is their best chance. Cyrus is 100% right. But City to finish and be happy with the semi-final in the Champions League, I don't know. I think that's unacceptable. No, I think final minimum.
This has to be it. In essence, one of the shocking stories that we might see, we've seen coaches get fired for less. Sarri in particular, mind you, Juventus. I think everywhere Sarri goes, apart from having been at Napoli, people have just been like, yeah, he's good, but and then there's the. But when you look at Pep, and I'm still not sure that the semis that you have there are correct.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at it and I see the semifinals, quarterfinal winner 1 versus quarterfinal winner 3. So the quarterfinal 1 would be Atlanta PSG versus Barca Bayern. And then it would be Leipzig versus versus City Lyon. I just look at City and I think there's always a point in Pep's managerial stay at a club where he thinks, this is it. What more can I do with this level of player? Yes, they've brought in new enforcements in Torres and Ake so far, and probably more players to come. but how motivated is he for the challenge of trying to go for the Premier League again, trying to win the Champions League again with these guys? I'm not sure. And also, what's the appetite for the board? Because sometimes, you get that situation where they'll be like, okay, fine, we've tried it your way how many times, Pep, and it just hasn't worked. Maybe this might be something that changes in the postseason. City have to go for it. They have to beat Lyon, and I think they will. And I think that if they do play, if they do play either Leipzig or Atletico, they must think, look, why can't we beat either one of those teams? Why can't we beat every single team? The only guys who might be the biggest problem for them would be Barcelona or Bayern Munich. And one of them is going to be out of the next round anyway. So it's a tough one.
Yes, that is very true. Gents, what are your predictions? Let me get ourselves back to that. Let's do that quickly, and then we'll talk about AB's team.
Okay, so for me, quickly, PSG to take it narrowly though. I think they're still warming up. Atletico, they've got far too much pedigree and experience there. For the Leipzig game, I think Bayern will edge out Barcelona, and then City easy win against Lyon. So yeah, PSG, Atletico, Bayern.
I'm going to work my way up from the bottom. City to beat Lyon, I see that happening. Bayern to beat Barcelona, I just have this feeling about the Germans. They look really good. Atletico to beat Leipzig, shame for them. And then the shock of the round, Atalanta to really pull something crazy against PSG.
Oh, that'll be beautiful.
My prediction, same as Cyrus, Atalanta to be the shock of the one of the shocks of the round. The second shock of the round will be RB Leipzig beating Atletico. I think Julian Nagelsmann has something up his sleeve. Bayern to beat Barcelona and City to beat Lyon. And yeah, that's I think those are the games that we all need to watch out for. That's the three happening on the back end of the week. Now on to the two that are going to be happening up front, the two footballing games, which is Monday and Tuesday. It's Europa League. AB, when I look at the Europa League, I just look at the big names and I pick the big name winner out of this. Can we do that this season? Can Copenhagen something against your team?
Look, I mean, if Copenhagen come out and press this United team, and if I were them, I would, they can easily beat United. United are not good at the back. Well, look, a lot of people would say we were better at the back than last season, and of course we are, but I mean, I could go and defend that United would be better than last season.
Just because you're wearing a United top doesn't mean you're going to slot into the United team.
Hey man, we're looking for a left-footed centre back. So United definitely are trying this whole play from the back thing, and it has caused us problems in the games that we've lost. Chelsea pressed United beautifully in the FA Cup semi-final, and they won. United never got out of that first gear, which starts from the back. However, United going forward have been tremendous since the restart. You've got the emergence of Mason Greenwood, which has been astounding. Marcus Rashford is playing more of a supporting role now, but his supporting role has been beautiful. He can shoot from outside the box, which is unique against a team like Copenhagen, so they have to worry about him. And then Tony Martial has been my player of the season for United. You know, after selling Lukaku, who's this big burly number 9 who gets you 20-plus goals in the league every year, or a season every year, Martial stepped up and has, become tough. He's scoring dirty goals. You've got Bruno and Pogba behind them supporting, and then Matic as well. I don't see Copenhagen upsetting United, especially with Oli wanting to win silverware, but anything is possible. But the pick of the week for me is Wolves Sevilla. That is a fantastic match. We can chat about Inter Milan, though. I know Cyrus has been following Inter quite closely.
I look at these, and the only one, I think the question I need to ask is which one will you watch?
Well, I'll certainly not watch the United game. It's a foregone conclusion. I think United should beat Copenhagen. If they're not beating Copenhagen, they've got bigger problems than we're speaking
100%.
about. And especially when you look at the level of talent, the types of players that they're able to put onto the pitch. Yes, they struggled against Lask, but I think that when you look at it, this United team should be strolling to at least a semi-final. And so I'm not too worried about United losing this game, especially since Copenhagen just don't seem to have enough star players in their ranks. It's what happens after that. And for me, the tie of this one is actually Inter versus Bayer Leverkusen. Yes, I think that Wolves Sevilla is going to be a fantastic game, but Inter with Conte, he's that kind of coach who he always gets something extra from his team when it's required. They didn't quite do it in the Serie A this season, but I think that with the likes of Lukaku there and Lautaro Martinez, I mean, it's just that it's weird because I look at Italian football and I say these teams should be better, and then you see some of these English players who've gone across there and done well, like Chris Smalling at Roma and then Ashley Young at Inter, and then you think maybe the standard isn't that high because these guys were dead weight at the clubs that they were at, both of them at United. But you've got Alexis Sanchez, you've got Lukaku, you've got Martinez. Christian Eriksen. There's so much talent. Even Victor Moses. So there's loads of players that I think that Inter could call on to really change the game. Whereas at Bayer, I'm just not sure. Kai Havertz is the central point there, and if he's not doing well, then the whole team is struggling. And so Inter should win that one.
Look, they were Bayer Leverkusen. Look, Bayer Leverkusen beat Bayern Munich. I think it was they beat Bayern Munich twice this season. So that's the feather in their cap. But for me, that's the game to watch. Inter Bayer Leverkusen. I'm a fan of Shakhtar Donetsk. I've always been a fan of them. I think they're a very good side. And the Wolves Sevilla game is tasty because Nuno knows how to set his team up. But I think Sevilla have that Europa League now to pull it through. These are the games that you could watch this week. We've got football every day. It starts off with these two with the Europa League ties. Now, finally, gents, quiz question of the week. Lewandowski has 13 goals so far in the season. Everyone's hoping that he can beat Juan Ronaldo's record. Tell me what that record is. How many goals has he scored in a single season in UEFA Champions League?
I think 16.
Maybe you must know this.
I think it's 16. No.
Cyrus, you want to go 16?
It was, for me, it's either 16 or 18. I don't know why 18 is a number that comes to mind. I'm going to go with 18.
18. Okay. Yeah. It's actually in the
17.
Of you guys, it's actually 17 goals. That's the record that Cristiano Ronaldo is chasing. He's trying to hold on to, and Robert Lewandowski with 13 is hoping to get. I think he'll get it. Unless Bayern go buck wild on Barcelona. But as it is, that is the end of our show. Do have a look at all the Champions League and Europa League games this week. This will keep you company as you go through and check out the previews. Do give us a like, subscribe, and share as widely to your people. Until the next round of games, which will probably be before the semifinals, we will see you. And it's goodbye from myself, AB, and Cyrus. Check us out and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you.